Hello everybody on the internet. Now this is a spoiler review, but truly, there are no surprises in this movie. Everything about it either leaked or Zack Snyder told us. So after a massive amount of fan outcry, the Snyder Cut of Justice League has finally come out. And I really don't understand why anyone was acting like this was gonna change the world. And yes, thoughtlessly, this is better than the bomby theatrical version because that was directed by a money-hungry committee. This is actually directed by a person. And look, I genuinely don't like Zack Snyder movies. I did actually have more positives with this than I thought I would, but still, this is not the movie that the Justice League deserves. I mean, good on Zack Snyder for making the movie he wanted to make and honouring his daughter. He deserved that. First and foremost, I freaking hate the aspect ratio of this movie. Watching a square is so frustrating. It doesn't help the movie at all. Though I was really relieved to not see the crappy colour grading of the theatrical version. Of course, this movie is 4 hours long. That is way too long. The pacing and the structure sucks. This movie is so slow and boring. It takes over an hour for some characters to come into it, and even longer for the team to actually unite. And originally they were going to release this in episodic parts, but still, inserted throughout this are title cards splitting it up into parts. That was pointless, since they released it as one whole movie, and it got kind of annoying. I thought that the best part of this movie was the middle third, and I thought that the worst part was the last third. And when the action does come, I was entertained. I just wasn't liking it, because Zack Snyder's action is so over the top, with too much consequence. And one of the biggest issues about this is that there is so much obvious CGI. And there were a couple things in here that I thought were reshoots, but they weren't. For example, I don't believe it, and when Flash says something like pocket paper monsterly. Ugh. I was so surprised that cringy things like that came from Zack Snyder. And this cut isn't like ultimately fulfilling because a lot of the time you do feel like you're watching the same thing because there's plenty of footage that you recognize, but then most of the time you don't. Something that wasn't improved from the theatrical version is some crappy logic. Aquaman calls Bruce Wayne Batman in front of people. Lois says Clark in front of cops. And Clark Kent is able to return to his normal life even though he's been dead for months. Superman's death is what woke up the mother boxes, and then they decide to invade. Why did they not just invade before Superman was around? Because he hasn't been around forever. Also, how did Darkseid not know that Earth was the planet that defeated him before? That wasn't very well thought out. Batman has much better characterization in this. I do like Ben Affleck as a Dark Knight Returns inspired Batman. I just hate the fact that he kills. That creates so many logic and moral issues. I think Batman is the best character in this, but he's just not great. Henry Cavill is a perfect casting choice for Superman, but I hate the way Zack Snyder portrays him. He is a complete opposite of a symbol of hope. And his death wasn't impactful because it did nothing to make you care about him. And he is duller than ever before in this. He barely has any lines, and he's used as a Deus Ex Machina when he comes back. Henry Cavill deserves better. Wonder Woman doesn't stand out in this. I mean, there's nothing wrong with her, she just delivers a lot of exposition. Cyborg is done perfectly in this. This really explores his origin, his bad relationship with his dad, and he struggles with what he is. And his origin is directly tied to the mother boxes, just like New 52. Ray Fisher did a great job, but I don't love the Cyborg design. In general, I've always thought that Aquaman is lame. He acts very stubborn and unlikable, but he has some sentimental moments that keep him from being completely unlikable. And this actually creates some continuity issues with the Aquaman movie. Or the other way around, however you want to look at that. Mira speaks with a British accent in this, and I think I prefer that. And she says that her parents died and that Atlanta took her in, but in Aquaman she has a dad. And in Aquaman, only highborn Atlanteans can breathe air, but here all Atlanteans can, which is how it should be. I really think that Ezra Miller is bad casting for the Flash. I mean, this makes him a little better. He doesn't have unbearably cringe dialogue, but he still has cringe dialogue. He acts more like Wally West than Barry Allen. This also makes Steppenwolf better, but he's still a generic villain, and I don't think this design is an improvement. I don't see the point of all the spikes and the living metal. His other design resembled the comics so much more. And we finally get Darkseid in live action. And he was well done. He looks awesome, sounds awesome, has an intimidating presence, but because he's not the main villain, he's not a fully developed character. And Martian Manhunter was also revealed in this. And he was well portrayed, but the CGI on him was bad. The CW version looks better than that. As Zack Snyder said, he hasn't appeared until now because there's never been a big enough threat for him to intervene. Which makes no sense because there definitely has been. And I have to mention the nightmare stuff. The concept of an apocalyptic future is overdone in movies, but I like that concept. I just don't like how it's handled with these DC characters. And that's also when Jared Leto's Joker makes an appearance. And that scene did not drive the story forward at all. It was just an excuse to have Batman and Joker interact. Jared Leto is still a terrible Joker. Another issue I had with this was that the characters never felt like a team. I felt like I was watching a DC movie, but not a Justice League movie. And I think that's because this movie is needlessly rated MA. That is not what the Justice League is. Zack Snyder's tone is so over the top and dark and depressing. And yes, the Justice League have gone through many dark times, like Crisis on Infinite Earths and Blackest Night, but this is just over the top. Overall, the Snyder Cut was what I expected. I liked elements of it, but I still think it's bad. It's better than BVS and Suicide Squad, but worse than Man of Steel. And obviously, Shazam, Aquaman and Wonder Woman are way better. I'm going to have to give Zack Snyder's Justice League a 4 out of 10. I have faith that one day the Justice League will get the true movie they deserve. And I just want to quickly mention, if you want to see my further thoughts on things, then follow me on the Stardust app. The Stardust app is a good extension of my channel. On there I cover things that I don't cover on YouTube, so I'd really appreciate it if you could follow me on there. So, what do you think of Zack Snyder's Justice League? Do you want to see more from this? What DC movies are you excited for? Let me know in the comments below, and may the Force be with you.